Dear friends, welcome to Deer Park Monastery. Today, before we officially start the retreat, we have a chance to listen to the chant of Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara is a great being who has the capacity to listen deeply to the world. And not only to listen deeply outside to all the cries and suffering and pain, but also to look deeply and listen inside to what is happening. And sometimes in our everyday lives, we're so busy and we don't have that chance to listen inside. And when we're able to touch that space inside of us, slowing down and following our breathing, we start to understand. And even though we understand we cannot change the situation, we have a little bit more love for ourselves. And then we can release that. To understand doesn't mean to change everything. And when we have the capacity to slow down and to touch the suffering in ourselves and to understand ourselves, we can then look and listen deeply to those around us. In our family, in our neighborhood, even in our schools. You understand our friends, our spouse, and our children. And our children can understand our mother and father. And from there we go on to having understanding and listening to the bigger suffering. So I would like to invite all of us to sit still and to allow the energy of compassion of Avalokiteshvara inside of us to awaken. And this is not to a person or a God, but it is the ability inside of us, the willingness to look deeply in ourselves, the desire and the passion to understand ourselves, others, and everyone in the world. And through the chant, you can either join your palm or you place your hands on your heart to recognize that you are here and you have the ability to listen. And let us generate this energy of compassion in ourselves, for our family, and for the greater family across the world. We'll start with 3 sounds of the bell.
Nam
I think all the tweens or teens are going to leave the hall. What about the children? Does the children have a program this morning? Can you tell us what you're going to do this morning? Do you know? No? Does it include playing? Does it include playing? How have you enjoyed the program so far? It's good? It's good. How many of you are in the children's program? Raise your hand. Wow, there's so many of you. So many of you. So what's your favorite thing so far? Oh, is this? You enjoyed the chanting? And it's your first time here? Do you want to stay in the big hall or do you want to go play? You want to go play? What about you? What's your favorite thing? How to? Can you come up here? I can't really hear you. The questions and answers? Yeah, you had questions and answers already? And what group are you in? You're in the 6, 7, and 8 group. Well, congratulations to the 6, 7, and 8 group for being the most quietest children's girl. Can we carry that on during our meal times too? Yeah? So what is your next favorite thing? Is there anybody else that has a favorite thing so far? How many of you are here with your parents? Yeah. Are they your favorite thing? Yeah? A very quiet yeah? So maybe before we invite all of the children to leave the hall, we can go to our parents and give them a big hug and to tell them that they are your favorite person today. One of our practices to bring happiness to someone in the morning, and we can do that. So maybe all the children can stand up and go find your parents and give them a big hug. And then you can follow Sister Grasshopper or Sister Grasshopper. I don't know their names. Brother Forrest, and out to your children's program. Thank you. And for all the other adults who don't have physical children here with us, you can also give yourself a hug. For the little child inside of you, giving you a hug also. Bye. Have fun. I think if you find it in your space too, if you can move a little bit closer, so I'm not too far away from all of you. So all of us, if you can, you just move a little bit closer. Thank you. And then once we get ourselves comfortable in our new seat, and then we can find an upright position and to follow our breathing. I would like to invite all of us to sit upright with our shoulders relaxed and just simply become aware of our in and out breath. There's no need to control it. Just recognize that our breath is there. Dear respected Thai, dear brothers and sisters, and dear family, today is June 27th in the year 2024. We are in our Awakening Together retreat at Deer Park Monastery. I would have to say, so many things have happened unexpectedly for me. I didn't know I was going to sit at the bell for the chanting. So I was getting ready to chant, and Brother Faflu called me up. I'm like, oh, what do I do? I don't know what to say. Put in those last minute changes. Because personally for me, I like to have things planned out way in advance and almost down to the minute of, I am my own project manager or event manager, essentially. So taking care of every single moment of everything that I will do in the future. So if something throws me off, luckily I wasn't too derailed. I'm just like, okay, give me a moment to ground myself. And I think that's what essentially we're here for, to find a little bit of grounding ourselves. Because there's so many things and things happening outside that we just sort of, our footsteps are a little bit unstable, quite literally and figuratively, where we don't know what we're going to do, even though we have so many things planned out. One of the deepest teachings of Buddhism is impermanence. In the teaching of impermanence, we know that intellectually, but it's kind of something that we don't want to accept. Yeah, I don't want to accept I'm going old, right? So then I tell myself, 40 is the new 20. How many of us have said that before? And it's just the fact that trying to hold on to something that is beautiful, but at the same time, we also hold on to something that is not so beautiful. So yesterday we had the orientation, and I was listening to my brothers and sisters share. I have heard orientation so many times. Let's just say at a weekly at Deer Park, here at Deer Park we have at least one retreat a month. So that's almost 12 orientations, let alone having guests come up every week. There's an orientation. And then what brings it down to me, yes, we can share how you should do this and sort of like just to fit in the monastery frame of things. But the most important thing that we shouldn't forget is everything that you do here is for your own enjoyment. If trying to sit upright and following your breathing in and out and doing the exercises is a little bit stressful, then drop it. But don't tell the monks and nuns you dropped it. Because you're supposed to enjoy the sitting. The sitting is just to enjoy. And like, how often do you get to sit and do nothing and think about nothing and just come into yourself and just say, oh, this is great. My in-breath and my out-breath, how wonderful is that? And then because the rest of the 23 hours and 15 minutes, we're trying to catch our breath in our everyday life. So now we have this chance to just really enjoy. Just enjoy sitting. Enjoy walking. And everybody has their own way of walking. But yes, there are techniques and guidelines on how we can make the best of our walking. But the bottom line is, are you enjoying the walk? Are you enjoying the sit? Or are you so focused on, oh, this is what the sister said, this is what the brother said? And then we're back into square one, of trying to please other people and to please ourselves, that you made it here to Deer Park. How many of us had to take up vacation days to come here? Those precious, very little vacation days from work. Sacrificing so much just to come and get caught in the idea that I am doing meditation. But meditation is very unmeditative. It's as simple as just enjoying what you are doing. Taking the time to slow down to enjoy that you are eating a piece of carrot. I wonder how many of us actually tasted the carrot. Other than the heavy seasoning and all the stuff that we add on, the olive oil, the nutritional yeast, the soy sauce, and all of that stuff, but just a plain carrot in itself. I remember as part of our practice, our teacher encourages the monastics that occasionally we should do a fast. And it's not, it's not a spiritual thing, but also as a means to allow our body to rest. Because for so long, it's been working nonstop. And we'll have a chance to do that today, also in deep relaxation exercise, but also resting in terms of all of our organs working together to digest the food and extract the food. It's like a whole factory that is happening in there 24/7 nonstop. And so when I was a novice, I tried to fast. And in one of the teachings that I said, once you break the fast, you also have to go into a very slow period of eating very light and almost clean food. And I said, why don't you just take a slice of bread, and you don't eat the whole slice of bread, you just take a piece of it and you chew it, just bread in itself. And you chew it until it almost becomes like liquefied. But then the moment you put the bread into your mouth, you feel the texture. There's the spongy part and then that nice crispy crust. And then you start to chew it. If it's a sourdough, then it's has a slight sour taste to it. But the more you chew it, you recognize that it's become sweeter. Without the butter and the jam. It's just naturally sweet, the saliva, the transformation of the food inside of your mouth. And it's a different kind of sweet. And I remember tasting bread for the first time in that way. And it was such an enjoyment. Like, wow, I don't need all these condiments. I don't need the peanut butter and the jam. It's a very American peanut butter and jelly. I don't need the butter. I don't need anything. Just that piece of bread as it is. Because we have the tendency to think what we need and ideas of what will make it better of a piece of bread or toast. Same thing with ourselves. We have an idea of what will make ourselves better. And we forget it's just the simplest things. Of just being you, who you are, the whole shebang, the whole package of your highs and lows, because it's uniquely you, and there is no other person in the world who is exactly like you, and that makes us unique in the flower, in the garden of humanity. I remember very deeply one time when every single time Thai gave an orientation for walking meditation. And he said, you should walk in such a way where peace and joy can be possible in each step. He did not tell me, Sister Nghiêm, you should walk like me. with your back like this, and your shoulders like this, and your neck straight. It had nothing to do with that. Because sometimes if I'm so focused on walking like him, I forget the enjoyment and the peace part. And so I would like to encourage all of us. Do everything that you do during this retreat. Just to do it for your own enjoyment as an individual and as a collective. You're breathing just to enjoy. You're eating to enjoy. Because this is the time, if not any other time. There's nothing on my notebook. Quite literally. But this morning, yesterday morning, I had a chance to sit with some of my roommates by the, how do I say that? It's a pool splash lotus pond. Pool transformed into a lotus pond. And we have a lot of lotus flowers in bloom, and the sisters have put some in arrangement for you. So these are from Clarity Hamlet. And just this morning, I was thinking, maybe I should give a Dharma talk on the lotus flowers. And I did not tell anybody this, because I'm still scrambling to think what I'm going to talk about. And then my younger sister says, I'm going to cut some lotus flowers to arrange them for the podium. I said, perfect. So that it's set. This is what I'm going to talk about. And we've heard so many times the term no mud, no lotus. And it's a very deep practice, but I'm going to share you of the qualities of the lotus. Every single part of this lotus plant can be used as food. We have the lotus roots. Sometimes you eat the lotus roots. And the young stem, the young sprouts, almost that is still in the mud, we use that as a salad. And in this pods, when it matures, you have the seeds. And the lotus leaves, we wrap rice in them and we steam them. So we call them the lotus rice. And that makes the very fragrant rice with the natural. So basically every single part of this lotus plant can be used for food. And for fun, I remember Tai, what he used to do, and all the kids in the countryside, they would take the flower petals and they make the little bubbles out of them. You blow it up and then you pop it on your forehead. And it's a fun pastime, like you pops. It's not like those fire poppers, but then you just take a lotus leaf and you just pop it on your forehead. And it makes a loud popping sound. And Tai used to do that with all the children. And he would, because we have a huge lotus pond and many lotus ponds in Plum Village. But here, please don't pull all of the lotus flowers. We don't have that many. But the one thing that I really admire about the lotus plant is the lotus leaf. And you may not know it or you cannot see it, but actually the lotus leaf is almost resistant to water. It doesn't get wet. It doesn't get wet. And then sometimes I said, you know what? My practice is to be like the lotus leaf. If I were to choose one part of the lotus plant, I would choose to practice being like the lotus leaf. Everybody likes to be the flower. You know? They all like to be beautiful, right? But I just like to be the leaf, where at least I know when I look at something and when I hold something, it doesn't get me wet. One time I created a meditation called Pebble Meditation, but I had to teach the children that, but I said, I'm going to do something different. Other than giving them little stones, I would give each them a lotus leaf, and I would put water in that lotus leaf, and I called it water pebble. And I asked them to just hold the leaf and to look at it and to see the different reflections on the water. And then when they finished looking of all the qualities of the freshness inside, they would pour it into the leaf of their friend. And they would contemplate that. But what I like about being a lotus leaf is that when I can look at my own suffering and own despair. Because what happens in our own habit is that we're so immersed in our pain that we identify ourselves as that pain. That is me, and that is who I am. It's almost an attachment to that. But if I put my pain in a lotus leaf, look at it, and when I'm finished understanding and looking deeply at it, I can pour it down into the water and let it go. And my leaf is still fresh and green. So I invite all of us to practice being a lotus leaf. Just holding the beauty, the solidity, the mountains, the stability, the clarity inside of us. But when the time comes, we would also need to look at our own pain and our own suffering and to let it go. And not to allow that pain and suffering to identify who we are. Because life is impermanent. So maybe we can imagine ourselves, our hands, as a lotus leaf. And we call upon what is really present inside of us right now. And we place that little water pebble or big water pebble on that leaf. And just look at it. And we listen to one sound of the bell. And just holding that leaf and looking at the water pebble. Now you can just imagine that you're pouring the water out of the leaf, and it can continue to receive the nourishment of the sun and the nourishment of the water and the mud. I have a journal, or I have many journals, and it was encouraged by us actually to write in our journals every day, just to keep track of our practice. And when I was a young novice, I didn't, who writes journals? And I was a teenager, so I don't like to keep a journal. But I was asked by Thai if I kept one, and I said, no. And he said, I'll give you a journal, an empty notebook. And it was special because it came from Italy, like a special notebook from Italy, from Thai. Wow, And so he said to me, you can just write in this, and when you're done, you can just give me your journal, and I'll give you another notebook. Right? So in my head, I was like, yes, I'm going to get 2 gifts from Thai if I finish in this journal. I was like, and so I went home. The first date, I don't remember it, but it's written in it that when I received that, I was so excited, and I said, I got a gift from Thai today, and writing everything, what had happened. And then, as days went on, and when you write a journal, you got to at least be real with yourself, right? I mean, because nobody's going to read it. Well, nobody's going to read it. So you're just writing up all of your thoughts, and this is like a teenager's mind. I'm telling you, so I've got a lot of thoughts and a lot of opinions as a teenager. And so I was writing it. There was one day where I was not having it. It's a very bad hair day for me when I don't have hair. And I had this realization. It's like, oh, I don't want to finish this journal. Tai can't read this. Because it's my teenage thoughts, and we say a lot of things that would be better left unsaid. And luckily, I had the journal to channel it out, but I didn't want Tai to see this side of me. But I'm being this smart teenager, decided to get my own notebook. I don't need Tai to give me another notebook. I can get one myself. So I started, and I never finished that first notebook. And I started a second notebook. So then I can honestly tell Tai, if he asked me if I finished a notebook, I said, no, I'm not done yet. But I've already written 3 others. Come along when I'm a little bit more mature, a little bit more grown up. And then I was cleaning my rooms, and I was asked to move to Thailand for a couple of months to help with the organization there for his tour. And what happened was I came across all of my journals, and I was just telling Tai, like, Tai, guess what I found? And I found all of my journals. And he said, oh, can I read them? And I just looked at him and was like, smiled. The best way to answer a Zen master or any of the brothers and sisters here, if you really don't want to answer a question, just smile. They can't get you to answer something, just smile. Yeah. So then all I did was just smile. It's neither yes or no, so I'm still protecting myself. So I came home, and I started flipping through the pages of my journal. And then I was like, oh, I remember that. I remember that. Oh, I remember how she was so mean. You go through and you start to reminisce about all of the things that have happened. And then at the end of going through all those pages and all those notebooks, I made a conclusion. None of these are Tai quality. They don't qualify to go be submitted. So, but then, I struggled a lot with that. And I was like, should I not? Should I not? There's so much fear around, like, what if Tai knows? It's not like I have any deepest, darkest secrets, Like teenagers, you can read their sleeves. They have everything written on their sleeves, but they think it's such a secret. And what if Tai knows? And what if him knowing changes our relationship? What if him knowing leaves me feeling like I have no place of refuge? And I was more afraid of that than I was afraid of him knowing the story. I'm afraid of losing my loved one. And in this case with Tai. I didn't care about my brothers and sisters. I've got plenty of those to go around, but I only had one Tai. But it was more of, what was I really resisting inside? What was this fear? Obviously, whatever happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, happened and didn't really have an effect on me as great as I thought it did, because I'm still around. Yeah, I'm still here and I'm still smiling. But what was that fear that I held on to? And it wasn't because I was living a double life, but it was just this fear of being abandoned and being unloved and being misunderstood. And all of those fears are legit. And they're based on perceptions that we have about ourselves and even about the other person. Tai is a Zen master. Of course, he's not going to be fazed by teenagers' things. But I have that fear because could be that all the other adults around me, they weren't Zen masters. You know, it was almost conditioned love. And I have been hurt. So therefore, to have somebody that I had admired so much to change the relationship with me because of my past suffering was something I couldn't bear myself. But come back into that story. There was one moment. It was after his Dharma talk, and Tai was about to exit the door, and I was just sitting somewhere right in line of the exit door, and I had brought all of my journals with me. And I was listening to 3 sounds of the bells to end the Dharma talk, but I was fighting inside. I was like, this is it, I gotta do it, or if I don't do it, then I'm just gonna forget about it. And I had this whole struggle between should I or should I not, should I not. If I had a daisy, I would pluck it, you know, and I would have like a whole field all gone and would not come to an answer of should I not. And this is Tai. So ultimately in the end, I knew subconsciously that I had wanted to. But I had allowed my ideas of fear to take over and hold me back. And so what I did is I just grabbed that stack of notebooks, of journals, and I walked up to Tai respectfully, and I bowed to Tai, and I gave him my journal. And Tai said, in his nonchalant, innocent, "What is this, my child?" You know he knows what it is, you know, like, but he just had to ask. Yeah. And I said, in a very whispery voice, "Dear Tai, these are my journals." And his eyes just lit up. And he shook his head, nodded, and I gave him his journals, and I just said, "Can I have them back?" And then he nodded. And then he usually would pass on things to his attendant to carry. But he didn't. He took the stack of journals and he hid them in his coat. And he walked all the way to his hut, holding my journals. And so that in itself was like, oh, he treasures my experiences. And sometimes we don't do that. Our experiences, we see them as something that we should be ashamed of and let go, forgotten, taking it to my grave, but nothing to treasure. I didn't get my journals back until more than 10 years later. And I had to go look for it. It was only because after that, and then I went to Thailand, I went to the United States, and it sort of just stayed in his study. And I didn't come back to Plum Village until 2018, which is almost 10 years later, since I gave him the journal. But it was very liberating because I no longer bound myself to my past experience and became a victim of my past. Because then I was absolutely free to be me. I can cry, I can laugh, I can smile, and gain new experiences. And all with the help of the Sangha. Not alone. As of recently, the sisters have allowed me to have more time. And we have a rotation. And in that rotation, we are cooking one day, cleaning one day, and on the bell rotation. So it's almost like the everyday things, but they have graciously given me more time, so I'm not on rotation. But being the jitterbug that I am, and not being able to sit still, always having to do something, so when I have extra time, I would help when I can. And one day I had this enlightenment, and this is what Brother Mangtwe was talking about, the enlightenment during working meditation. However, I wasn't cleaning the toilet, but my enlightenment came from doing the sanitizing. So we had to take all the dirty dishes on the sanitizing tray and bring it into the sanitizing machine. But the distance from the sanitizing machine and the trays are quite long, so you have to carry it. And there's a lot of obstacles along the way. So many sisters and brothers. And so I was carrying it. And in Vietnamese, there are two ways of which we can say, make way. We would say, xin đường, or nước sôi. Nước sôi means hot water. It's like hot water, you got to move quickly because I'm going through. It's going in hot, right? But I use the word xin đường. Xin đường, it means that I ask for a way. Could please make way. And naturally, when we say that, all the sisters made a way, a path for me to go to the sanitizing machine. And I realized, because the trays are heavy and you want to get them in and place it down. But what about our own practice? When we have a weight in ourselves, do you ask for a way? Do you ask for a path? And does somebody open a way for you so that you can place your heavy burden down? Or are you going to pretend you're going to be the strong macho sister that's holding the tray and just standing there expecting people to know that you need a way, and expecting people to say, to move out of the way just by standing there and holding that burden? It doesn't hurt to say, make way, or to ask for a way. So what is that resistance in ourselves when we have this heavy burden? Can we say, I need a path, I need a way? The other day I was listening to one of Thai's Dharma Talks, and we've heard this quote before. The way out is in. Have you heard that quote before? Like any way out of any situation, you have to go inwards. You have to look inwards and start that hands-on, deep contemplation, looking deeply, understanding, unraveling, and digging through the dirt and getting your hands dirty, and then just to free yourself from that. But there's actually a sentence that he says before he says that. He says, don't despair. There is a way out. Ideally, we always know the way out is in. But we're in this despair, when we're in this place, when we feel that we don't have a way out. And going in is sometimes too hard. The idea of having to go in and getting our hands dirty is so difficult. And then we fall into despair, and before we can even start going in, we give in to despair. And so Thai says, do not despair. There is a way. And even if that way is saying, I need a way, putting down our pride and ideas of what looks good on ourselves, I need a way, xin đường, so that you can allow yourself to just place down that burden and not have to do anything with it. Just press the button and the whole sanitizing machine will run and come out squeaky clean. But sometimes we just need to place that burden down, place that weight down. One of the practices that we learned yesterday was about touching the earth. And this morning we had the chance to touch the earth. And I really love the practice of touching of the earth. Because if you take the word earth and you take the letter H at the end and you put it in the front of the word, it spells heart. And in fact, that our heart can be placed down onto the earth. And everything that is holding heavy, weighing it in on your heart, you just pour it onto the earth. As a novice, I was taught that the earth has so many beautiful qualities. It has the capacity to receive, hold, and transform. If you pour water or milk into the earth, it will transform and become nutrients to the soil, and there will be flowers and plants. But even if you pour urine, excrement, or whatever into the earth, it will absorb the same way. It doesn't spit it back at you. Right? And so the qualities, the virtues of the earth is to hold and heal and transform. So she also has that capacity to hold our weight. If we can just touch the earth and pour everything that is in our heart to the earth. So the practice of touching the earth is heart to earth. Heart to earth. So you can place down that weight. Place down that weight, and the earth will give you a way. And that is the way. First, letting it down. Placing that burden onto the earth. So earlier I said we do things for our own enjoyment. You walk for your own enjoyment. You eat for your own enjoyment. You sit for your own enjoyment. And not for anything else. And that enjoyment is in fact generating the energy of mindfulness. Generating the energy of mindfulness. Because when you are really present, you can enjoy. Just like when I gave the example of chewing the piece of bread without any butter or jam. Tasting it, you're really there, invested in every single taste bud on your tongue. Invested in every moment. Your mind is not thinking about anything else. So that is generating the energy of mindfulness. Enjoyment. You can only enjoy when you're present. You know? So doing things for your own enjoyment is generating the energy of mindfulness in a very relaxed way. You know, there's no yoga position or sitting position that is the highway or the freeway to mindfulness. That doesn't exist. That path doesn't exist. But the enjoyment does. And everything that you do can be a source of enjoyment. That is the source of mindfulness. So it's not a matter of what you do, it's how you do it. And in the Buddhist teachings, in one of our ancient texts, and we probably hear about it in many different forms, but we always come back to our body. And we had our guided meditation of coming back and being aware of our in and out breath and calming our body and relaxing our body. We can start off with that as our anchor, just breathing in and breathing out, breathing in and breathing out, establishing a presence in our own body. And being aware and taking care and relaxing our own body should be an enjoyment. You don't need to go to a spa for 3 hours and get a 1 hour treatment. You can just lie in the monastery meditation hall and have deep relaxation. And I promise you, you'll be out real quick. Real quick. The brothers and sisters, they'll be aware of your abdomen rising and your abdomen falling, rising, falling. Okay, this is the end of our meditation. You'll be like, what happened in between? You know, that's allowing yourself to just simply melt away and enjoying that. You know, the purpose of deep relaxation is not to put you all to sleep. If you do, it's okay. But the purpose of deep relaxation is to be awake, aware enough to recognize the tension in our body and to be present for that tension and to relax that tension, to soften that tension with each breath. And so the same thing, when we have the capacity to do that, it builds the foundation for us to look at our lotus leaves with the water pebble. Because sometimes our pain is so much that it fills the whole leaf. And you still don't want to let it go. And it's overwhelming. And so that's when we can come back to our body for nourishment. Sometimes it's quite easily mistaken that our practice is almost like a spiritual bypassing. Like when I feel these strong emotions come up, then I'm just going to breathe and calm it down and smile at it and, sort of like, hello. I'm going to breathe now and I'm going to ignore you. And I'm going to choose this. But that's just the first part because we don't want to be overwhelmed by our feelings. And then when you have the capacity to say, all right, I can invite you over again. Let me sit with you again. Yeah. And then talk to me. Talk to me. My pain, my despair, my anxiety. When did this happen? Where did it come from? And come with these feelings and looking deeply with the sense of curiosity. Not with judging. Like, oh, you're so like this. Like, I can't believe you do this all the time. And like, there's a movie that just came out, and Inside Out 2. Yeah. I haven't watched it yet. It's on my list. But you don't really need Inside Out 2. That's giving you a cartoon figures of what really happened and processing. But we can do that simply just on our mats. And what are the characters that are in play every single time we start to look at something? And then our other ideas starts to get into the way. Because every single time that young girl have a certain feeling, all the feelings are worked up, all mixed together. And so then our practice of coming back to our body, calming our body first, allows her to have a little bit of clarity to sort out what feelings are dominant and what is really the problem that is bothering her. And so we can do inside out ourselves just by coming back to our breathing and not bypassing and ignoring. You can ignore for so long, it'll come back right at you. So take a look deeply to relaxing and calming our emotion. So far I've shared, and you don't know this yet because I haven't met the proper terminology about being aware of your body, recognizing your in and out breath. Number 2 is following your in and out breath. Number 3 is the awareness of your body and calming your body. The first 4 exercises of breathing. And when we move on to 5, 6, 7, 8, the awareness of feeling, of generating joy. Generating joy on the foundation of mindfulness. And then generating happiness. We don't have to sacrifice the happiness of the present for the sake of the future. Sometimes we chase after a distant happiness, or more like we chase after an idea of happiness. If I had that, I would be very happy. Before, when I wanted to I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to go to Harvard Law. I wanted to get the highest degree, make a lot of money, live in a big house. Those were all future-oriented of what I thought would make me happy. Right now, in reality, I'm not a lawyer, but I do a lot of work. And I'm not that happy with all these paperworks. The reality of it is like that. Oh, I take that back. I'm happy to serve the Sangha. But I can see the stress level and everything affiliated with how one can be very unhappy. And so Tai said, you don't have to sacrifice the happiness of the present for the sake of the future. You can be happy right here. And not what the idea of happiness is, because you have more than enough conditions to be happy. And I don't want to say this to put into your head that, you should be happy and sort of guilt trip you into practicing happiness, but become aware of it. To become aware that, I don't have to live an idea of happiness. I can be the happiness. I don't have to sacrifice this moment right now for something that is very uncertain in the future. Because about, an hour ago when I came in here, I was getting ready to do the chant. I was quite happy to stand there, and I was called to sit on the podium to share a little bit about the chant. Different changes. Within only just 2 minutes, my plans had already changed. So in every second in the future, your ideas of happiness will change. So the ideas of happiness is always unstable, but right now you have the conditions to recognize happiness that you have, and you don't have to sacrifice that for something so uncertain. So take hold of it. Enjoy the sitting. Enjoy not having your children now for the past hour and a half. They're out there having fun, And there you trust, hopefully you trust the brothers and sisters of taking care of them and watering their positive seeds, and also trusting yourself being here to water your own seeds and to touch those moments of joy. So the 5th practice is to generate joy. The 6th practice is to generate happiness. And all of that can be done right here and right now. The 7th practice is being aware of painful feelings. Being aware of painful feelings. The 8th practice is calming down those painful feelings. And that is inside outing yourself. Recognizing all those feelings that are dominant, only just one situation, small thing, but everything gets all haywired in your head because so many feelings are coming in all at once, all at the same time. So, inside out yourself, calming those feelings, calming those emotions. I know tonight is the first presidential debate. And we all got a lot of feelings going on. But we don't have to. Because that will continue on for the next couple of months. A lot of nonsense, or not nonsense, or come out with more questions and answers. But we don't have to worry about that because right now we have this chance not to be mixed up with all those emotions. And this is the thing. Sometimes the things that we choose bring up more emotions in us. So it's a matter of what do you want to choose, and you have the choice. I had this, I don't want to call it enlightenment, but when I was in Vietnam and I visited a very beautiful mountainous area in the north, I forgot the name, and the ladies there, they were quite excited. And I just went to the bathroom to wash my hands. And the lady's like, oh, Thai. Well, they said, oh, sister, so nice to see you. You know, I suffer so much, and my kids are like this. And then I've never met this lady before, you know. And it was almost an automatic thing in Vietnam when they see the monastics. They start to complain of how painful and how much suffering they have. And of course, I'm okay with that, you know, because I can just say, oh, it's okay, it'll get better, and just sort of brush it off. It's just a complete stranger. But I was like, wow, nobody ever comes to me to complain of how happy they are. Right? It's just out of habit. It's like, this is, oh, you know, I have so much pain. I'm like, okay, oh, your daughter will come around, don't worry. And this is in the bathroom. Not really a nice place to share. But it was like, I came here, like everybody comes and say, I have this pain, I have this suffering. But no one starts off like, you know, I'm really happy. I'm where I want to be, where I need to be right now. So we have a choice. You can generate sorrow and pain, or you can generate happiness. I also learned on my trip to Indonesia, and I was like, wow, that's another level of practice for me, is that they have this saying, every time something happens, they always see the good out of it. So we were going down to this lake. I didn't know it at the time, and I promise you, I did not look it up on Instagram, but we went to a cafe. One of our lay friends took me to a cafe because she said the scene is very beautiful, and it was a volcanic cafe. So it sees over to the volcano, and there's a whole lake, volcanic lake at the bottom. So it's a very beautiful scene. And I found out they have, like, of course, you see, I'm having coffee with the lay friend and a light breakfast, and you see all these influencers and Instagram people just posing in front of you to get the picture of the lake and the mountains. And she had told me just a couple of weeks ago there was an accident on the road down, because it's a very windy road down to the bottom of the lake, bottom of the volcano. And she said, but luckily no one was hurt. The truck was hanging off of the cliff, like literally half of the cliff. I would be freaking out, sorry. But she said, luckily no one was hurt. I was like, well, that's a positive way to look at it. I would be like trying to like get myself together. And some of the sisters had witnessed that accident, and they're like in shock. And she was like, oh, luckily the driver walked out fine. He's okay. And sometimes that helps if we can just not be so focused on that situation and to see what we really have. But out of my own habit, I was like, the car is almost, the pickup truck is almost falling off. Like, and you're saying you're lucky? But sometimes we do that. We have this habit of just so focusing on the story that we forget what we have. That we forget what we have. So maybe we can have a choice. So I've been also my practice of the lay friends in Indonesia. Luckily, and smile very happily. And I think that helps me then not to be carried away by my emotions. So this morning, we have a chance so far to just briefly touch over the first 8 exercises of breathing. Looking deeply, taking care, establishing a presence for yourself. Just enjoy what you do. Enjoy the eating. You're eating just to eat. And sometimes, I say, like I'm not really eating the sun, the moon, the rain, whatever, all the stuff, elements that comes into here. That's like way advanced for me. I was like, I'm eating a carrot, and I recognize I am eating a carrot. Because I can easily get lost in my thoughts, meaningless thinking and conversations in my own head. But if looking deeply and saying, this is a carrot, and it's made of this element, it's made of that element, it's made of this element, and I'm eating all of that, that's not really establishing a presence. You're still eating with ideas. That you are eating a carrot, my dear. That's a carrot, a piece of tofu, a grain of rice, a lettuce. Do you feel the different textures of it on your tongue? Do you taste the different flavors? I think it's called umami. The umami flavor, the sour, the sweet, the spicy, the perfect combination of flavor bursting in your mouth. Living that carrot inside of you. Living that piece of tofu, that spoonful of rice, that morsel of food, and just being present there and enjoying that. Can you enjoy that? And that's all you need to establish, to generate happiness and joy. I would like to thank all of you for being here and spending this time with me. It's almost time for lunch, so that's why I've got to leave it off at this note. Enjoy your carrot. You're not eating the sun. You're just eating the carrot. Keep you grounded onto the earth of where you are, right here and right now. And you don't need to sacrifice your moment of happiness for something in the future. Thank you so much for listening.